Hi guys. Hi Taz. Let me see. Hi Taz. Hi Armin. Armin. Hi Bombi. Hi Niels. Hi Kaz. Hi Sword for Justice. Welcome and thank you for coming over here from Urbosis. I really appreciate it. Our dynamic here is a little different. We start with discussing random stuff that happens to me in Ukraine, and then we get to the news. So I'm a lot less formal than Aravosis, which I just warn everyone because I know that he does the news straight. That he does the news right away, which is good. But at the same time, it's just a very different dynamic. So I want to warn everyone because we are a lot more informal here, which is not like both ways are good. Actually, I do love that John can just dive straight into the news. Oh, really? Already? That's so awesome, Lynn. Oh yeah, because you bought them a couple of weeks ago. So that would make sense. How are you loving them? How are you liking them? I'm like, how are you loving them? How are you liking your prints? Hi, Joe. Hi, Martin. Hi, Michael. And Connecticut, cool. I lived in New York for 13 years until 3 months ago. And now I live in Kyiv. So we were kind of neighbors. I mean, Connecticut is a never-ending state when you're driving to Massachusetts. Why was Ivano-Frankivsk renamed? No, I wasn't renamed. Ivano-Frankivsk is Ivano-Frankivsk. Hi, Frank. You guys, I have so much to tell you because, New Hampshire. I love New Hampshire. I also really like Connecticut. Connecticut has a lot of really great places to just drive up to from New York to get away. Connecticut is huge. New Hampshire is huge too. I've been to Portsmouth in New Hampshire. Hi, Praxis. Hi, it used to be Stanislav. Oh, see, here's it. I thought you meant right now, but Vasil is from Ivano-Frankivsk, so it used to be Stanislav, and apparently it was renamed to Ivano-Frankivsk. Well, Ivan Franko is a famous Ukrainian writer. He's considered to be one of the founders of modern Ukrainian language, so the city is named after him. You guys, so I haven't been live in 4 or 5 days. The reason for that, hi Darlene, is because I went home for Easter. I did try to record as many videos that I can put together for you as possible because, it's of Lviv and it's of Easter and Easter traditions. And this is my first Easter with my family in a very long time. So it was interesting. It's my first Easter this year. I'm also going to be celebrating the second Easter because, we used to celebrate Easter at the same time as Russians. And now we celebrate it at the same time as the rest of the world. And half of my family switched already, and the other half of my family is switching next year because my grandma is really religious and she just listens to what the priest says, and the priest says next year. So that's what's happening. Plus, I think they kind of want it out of convenience. Hi, привет, Sasha. Plus, I think they're doing it out of convenience because my parents are divorced, so I now have 2 families to attend holidays. To go for holidays. And so I think it's you get that Easter and we get this Easter, and that's kind of funny. But yeah, I went home for Easter. I have a lot to share with you that's actually hilarious because, a lot has happened. First of all, I was supposed to be back in Kyiv on Monday morning, but because I forgot that it's Easter and in Lviv, most people switched, or a lot of people switched to Easter this past weekend already. There were literally no trains on Sunday night. There was one train, and it was, oh, okay, gotcha, Sword for Justice. That's cool. Nice to meet you. Russian Orthodox Church is kicked out of Ukraine because it's a propaganda vessel, and their priests literally preach genocide against Ukrainians. So yes, it has been kicked out a very long time ago, and it should have been even longer ago. So basically, Hi, Diane. So basically, I went home for Easter. There were no tickets to come back on Monday morning. I had so much to do today, and I got in at 8 a.m. The only tickets that were available, the only tickets that were available to come back to Kyiv on Monday morning were basically tickets in Platskart. Platskart is like a train that doesn't have. So we have overnight trains, and they're sleeper trains, right? So you have like bunk beds. And usually you have three types of accommodation. One is a quad, which is like a room with four beds, like two bunks, basically. One is a lux, which is just two beds in one room. And one is the entire train car is just filled with beds and no one has any privacy. And so like, it's kind of dangerous, especially if you're like a woman traveling alone. So they only had those. And I was like, no fucking way. The train that I got on for your information, normally I pay 1,200 hryvnias for a ticket to get to Kyiv from Lviv or vice versa. And this one was 300 hryvnias. I was like, I mean, that's amazing, but why is it so cheap? It was the oldest train I have ever freaking seen in my life. The train route was the Carpathian Mountains to Kyiv. The people that were on it were very interesting. It was like jam-packed. I got the last seat, and it was the bottom bunk somehow. Wild. And it was 4 women in the room, which never happens to me. It's usually me and like a dude or something. One that stops in all the villages. No, it didn't stop in all the villages, but it was literally like the oldest train. So all the trains usually have outlets on the train, like in the room. No outlets. It literally looked like Stalin himself had built it. Like it was so old. But anyway, somehow we got here. I got in at 8 a.m. Or 9 a.m. or something like that. I got home. My dad had gotten me a cactus while I was in Lviv. So I had like my little suitcase. I had a bag full of stuff that my parents gave me. I had a pascha, which is like an Easter bread that was blessed in a church. And I brought it with me because I had lunch with my family friends today and I brought it for them. So I had this Easter bread. I had like a bag full of crap from my parents. Not crap, like, I mean, I love it. Thank you very much. It's just like, it was a huge bag. I had my suitcase and I had a cactus with me. And the cactus is, it's like, has needles. So it was quite a lot. I did go to lunch. A very, very, very funny situation happened to me while I was in Lviv. And for those of you who follow me on Twitter and Instagram have heard this situation. Those who do not are going to hear it now. And I have to share it because I legitimately cannot freaking stop laughing at this. So, if you haven't seen what my father looks like, I will try to demonstrate it to you right now. It's important for the story. So, this is my dad. This is not a very flattering picture of him. He's going to hate me for showing that. You know what? I'll try to find a better one, but like, this is my dad. And I understand that he's a very decently good-looking man. It's my childhood trauma, all the random ladies on the street that have been, trying to get to my dad through me, and they would consistently annoy the living hell out of me to get to him. All the women, no matter what age, that would like just flirt with my dad indiscriminately in front of me, like, just okay. And also every time when I turned 16, every time we would travel together and we'd get a hotel room, the people, the attendants at the hotel, at the like reception would always be like, "Oh, do you want us to move the beds together? Cause you have 2 separate beds." Cause they would think I'm his girlfriend. So yeah, childhood trauma. Anyways, on Sunday night, I went on a walk with my dad and his girlfriend. It was the 3 of us, and it was at 10:30-ish p.m. The walk was not long. That's the funny part. Like, it was probably like a 30-minute walk, and we were in the center of the city. And that was it to it. In the morning, my friend calls me from Kyiv. So that was in Lviv. Okay. I took a walk with my dad at 10:30. p.m. And in the morning at 9 a.m., my friend calls me from Kyiv and she's like, listen, I'm at this cafe and there are these two girls sitting here. And the conversation that she overheard went about like this. You know who I saw in Lviv last night in the evening? And the girl goes, who? And she goes, oh my God, that like English speaking blogger, you know, that one. But like, Jesus, she's like Miss High Morals over there on the internet. But then in real life, she's just like everyone else hanging out with a sugar daddy. I saw her with some old, rich dude. First of all, I don't know where, like how they measured, you know, the wealth. But I was dying because the old rich dude is my fucking father. Like, you are not wrong. I mean, if I were fucked up, I would call him daddy, you know? He is my dad. He is the man who created me. But I was first, like, what killed me in this story is like, this is so Lviv. We have a lot of jokes about Lviv and like the gossip that travels in Lviv, right? And stuff like that. Ich spreche Deutsch ein bisschen. Ich habe Deutsch studiert aus Schule für 11 Jahren. Hi. So basically I just, this is very like west of Ukraine, particularly like Lviv, Ternopil, and the Ivano-Frankivsk region. We have this like culture of gossiping, okay? And it's hilarious because from the moment this woman saw me to the moment she told her friend about it at a cafe, not even 12 hours have passed. And like, it was in a different freaking city, okay? And it is so funny. It is so freaking funny. I was laughing so hard. And I mean, there were some more like details that made it more identifiable to me. I just like, you know, I'm not going to like retell the whole conversation, but the gist was basically that. And I told my dad and he thought it was like the funniest thing on the planet. So that was part of my Easter weekend with my family, you know. It made my day, it made my week, it made my month. My dad's girlfriend was like, I love how I wasn't even mentioned. I mean, she was like the people, the girls who were gossiping were like, oh, her and like her sugar daddy and her friend or something. And so that's история с татом. And it was literally, it made my day. It made my year. And also made my dad's year. My dad was like so flattered. He was so flattered. You know, older, rich dude. You know, he was so flattered. He was like, he had made me tell the story to like most of his friends that we met that day. He was like, oh my gosh, you have to hear this. I was like, to be fair, I've told this to all of my friends as well because I thought it was so funny. So yeah, that was my, you know, family weekend with my daddy, I suppose. And I now call him and I call him I call him and I say, hi, old rich dude, how are you doing? So, you know, he adores it. It's hilarious. Today, however, great story, first time hearing it. Yeah, well, I posted it on Instagram originally, and then I also shared it with Twitter. Did you have the sandstorm in Kyiv today? I didn't see any sandstorms, to be honest. So but I was like at home for the first half of the day, and then it was like raining profusely. So yeah, but Heroyam Slava. So that was my Easter weekend. I mean, a lot more had happened. I like baked some paskas. I have a lot of footage to like share of Ukrainian traditions with you. But that's about it for that. Today I had, so I went to this в Україні. I went to this pre-premiere screening of a documentary that's going to be available on PBS in May, and I implore all of you to watch it. It's about animals during the war and about people saving their animals during the war. And hello, it's me. Hi. And it is a fantastic, fantastic documentary. I was like laughing, I was crying, I was laughing, I was crying. It was like very well filmed. It was very, very well done. It kind of like, it invoked so many emotions, and it's about animals. And it was a fantastic documentary. When it's available in May, I really, really do recommend that you watch it on PBS if you're abroad. If you're in Ukraine, the documentary starts screening on the 4th, so in 2 days, and you can buy tickets. It's going to be available in almost all cities of Ukraine. Also, if you go to Cinemaplex, you can see the schedule of screenings that Anton Ptushkin, the guy who filmed the documentary, is going to be attending. And I would recommend that you go to those, because he does, he talks a little bit about the film, and he's just like a very good, positive person. And I would really recommend that you watch it. I don't know. It was like a very, it was a very, like, the film was about such a difficult subject, but it didn't leave this like feeling of it. I didn't leave there with a heavy heart, basically, or with a heavy feeling. I left there kind of like elevated, because it was a good movie after all, a good documentary. Also, you guys, I met Patron, the bomb sniffing dog, because he was at the premiere, at the pre-premiere screening, because he is part of the documentary. So this dog is freaking tiny. Like, I would think he's about Cindy's size. No, he's about Anastasia's dog size. He is so small. So this is Pes Patron. Everyone was like so excited to see him. And this is like legitimately him, because his handler was there, and his handler works at the SNS, which is like the rescue services of Ukraine. This is the real Pes Patron. He's very cute, but he was like kind of overwhelmed, because like so many people were coming up to him and like trying to take pictures and stuff. I came up to his owner, and I was like, and I think it was so awkward, because everyone was kind of like, trying to get their attention. And I just came up and I was like, hey, listen, I'm not going to ask for a picture, but I did want to tell you that, my dad at some point in the beginning of the full-scale invasion had sent me stamps with Patron, and we had auctioned them, and they did very well. So that raised quite a bit of money for the armed forces of Ukraine. And someone was like talking to him, and I think he was like so confused and stuff, so he didn't really like say anything. But I wanted them to know. I mean, Patron has raised a lot of money in general for prosthetics for Ukrainian sappers, for Ukrainian mine workers and stuff like that. So it was it was really cool. It was a really great premiere. A lot of people were there. It was absolutely packed. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I do have a sad and funny story to share that I have shared with my friends already, and Grumpy was on the phone with me as it was happening. So I no longer have a blow dryer, and that's actually incredibly annoying and incredibly inconvenient, because it's going to cost a lot to replace it. But so I have this like shark thing that's a blow dryer and a curling iron and like everything in one. And that's how I do my hair. And so I was curling my hair to go to this premiere thing. And thank you, Ruben. And I had poured a bucket of water for my mop. Thank you so much. I had poured a bucket of water for my mop to mop the floors, obviously. And normally it never stands next to my sink. I was talking to Grumpy. Cindy came up behind me. She jumped, and I got scared, and I had dropped the fucking blow dryer, which is so much more than just a blow dryer, because it's also a curling iron, and it's also a straightening iron, and it's just everything into the bucket of water. And I did dry it. Grumpy, it does not work. And I am just so incredibly annoyed, because the first time that I came here to the US, I'm a proud owner of a Dyson in the US. I can't afford a Dyson right now, but I had gotten it from a friend who worked at Dyson many, many years ago when I had gotten that that blow dryer. I brought it to Ukraine. It doesn't work here because of the voltage differences and whatnot. And then, so I got the Shark because it's significantly less expensive. I mean, it's significantly less expensive. And yeah, now I don't have a blow dryer at all. And it's supposed to get cold tomorrow again. So it's not like I can get away with not drying my hair, and I'm just so pissed. But the fun part of the story is that at the time at which it happened, I had half of my hair curled on the bottom, and the other half of my hair was straight up top because I didn't get to it because I start from the bottom and then I go up, right? And I had 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes before I had to leave. So what I ended up doing for this freaking premiere is this. These, horns on my head are there because I had to figure something out for my hair. Because this entire part of my hair was legitimately straight. Oh, Bami, thank you. Thank you for gifting a membership. Wait, you guys on TikTok, I think something's happening. Is something happening? How is your weather hooked to Central Illinois? I don't know. Yes, Nick, what's up? Stop looking so defeated. I am defeated. I was defeated. Wait, give me 1 second. I think something's happening on TikTok and my connection sucks. But so yeah, this is kind of like, this is the situation. I look ridiculous. I look like an idiot. I look like a teenager. Okay, how much of this did you miss on TikTok? Because I saw that, that connection went off. Your hair looks fine to me. I mean, yeah, it's because I did do something to it. Oh, you missed all of it. Okay, long story short, after my blow dryer had fallen into the bucket of water and entered afterlife, I had 15 minutes to leave my apartment to go to this documentary premiere that I was invited to. And I was invited to by my friend who filmed the documentary. So I was like, shit, I have to go. And I'm standing there and half of my hair on the bottom is curled and this entire part is straight. And I no longer have a curling iron because I just successfully drowned my blow dryer by accident. And so this is what I figured I would do in order to fix the situation, because I could not have left my house with, all of my hair straight here and just curled in the bottom, because it just doesn't work that way. So yeah, that was the story of my life today. And yeah, I no longer have a blow dryer. I love it. It's a great little thing that happened. Yeah, Cindy was quite happy to see me, I suppose. She has been like sleeping right next to me this entire time. She's usually very happy to see me. She's usually very attached when I come back from like not being home for a few days. I do have a cactus now though. My dad got me a cactus. And Grumpy was laughing at me. So yeah, I did call Grumpy a big, mean meanie, because like as this was happening and I was panicking, Grumpy was like, let me show this to my wife. This is so funny. Hi, Mrs. Grumpy. Yulia was just blow drying her hair and she drowned her blow dryer. Thankfully, she didn't die. Also, like, I don't know how I didn't die because like the blow dryer was obviously plugged in when it dropped into the bucket. Also, like the timing of this, the bucket is never there. And this one time, the bucket was freaking there. And now I have to figure out how to fucking get a blow dryer because it does not fit my budget this month. And I am just like, rah! Sorry, I don't mean to yell. And probably you on YouTube were having like a really, really rough time right now because the mic is plugged in. So yeah, that's life. But if you are Ukrainian and you have the ability to go to the movie theater for the premiere, the film is called "Ми, наші улюбленці та війна." So it's basically us, our pets, and war. Us, our pets, and the war. And it's a really, really great documentary about animals during the war. So yes, I'm very proud of the director of this documentary because he did a fantastic job and he's a good friend and I'm very proud. That's all I have to say. So yeah, last thing I do before we start the news is, you know how I always show you my kombucha of the day. So I found a new one. I don't know if it's made in Ukraine. I think it probably is. And the reason why I think so is because it says delicately sparkling. And, you know, the way that the reason this is how I know when something is Ukrainian is when I look at the label, and English on that label is very particular. Delicately sparkling. So it's a kombucha. I really like the design of this kombucha. I really like this bottle. I'm probably going to keep it and put like a nice little like dried flower into it or something. I like this one though. It's rose flavored. And it's like, it is delicately sparkling, which is what I like. I like lightly carbonated drinks. See, lightly carbonated would have been the right word. Is Russia striking more so from Belarus nowadays? No, it hasn't been striking from Belarus in a while. Okay. Are we ready for the news? Are we ready? Okay. You guys, are we ready for the news? Yes, we are. Hi, Mello. Good afternoon from Massachusetts. Hi. Also, привіт, Ivanka. I am. Oh, great. Great. Boom, boom. Oh, also, another little cute fun fact, which is connected to the documentary, but also, and we're like, this is one very short thing. When I was talking to my friend about the documentary, I was, because it's a documentary about animals, my dad had suggested this really good idea of putting treats, like dog and cat treats on chairs for the dog and cat treats on chairs for everybody who's in attendance of the pre-premiere screening and premieres in each city, because that would be like cool. And I had told the idea to my friend and he was like, oh, but yeah, it's last minute. I don't want to like scramble because it's not going to be done right, you know, and like, it's understandable. And so he was like, maybe, you know, like next time for something else. And I was like, for sure. And then I come in today and there are treats. There were treats literally on all of the chairs. And I'm like curious if this was because he actually like tried and did it, or if someone in his team had come up with it way before and it was like, thank you, Martin. And it was like a thing that happened, but I just thought it was very cute because it was a really good idea. So yeah. Okay, Speaker of the House of Representatives Johnson will bring up the issue of assistance to Ukraine for discussion on April 9th, said Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Mike Turner, reports The Hill. You know, I can't even comment on this. I'm not holding my breath for it because literally it's been so long. I don't know if you guys realize this, but it's been 8 months since the US had passed an aid package to Ukraine. And then, you know, there is so here is how I'll word it, right? So a friend of mine works at a huge IT company, and they're kind of like a coaching company for IT companies. And anytime someone like a billionaire or a millionaire who's a philanthropist comes to Ukraine, usually they will do the presentation for that person and just sort of like create the program for them and stuff like that, right? So this philanthropist, a millionaire, billionaire lady was coming to Ukraine, I think today actually. And I was having a dessert and a coffee with my friend yesterday, and she had asked me to look through the presentation and look at English and tell her if anything stands out or anything can be said better or something like that. And so the end sentence, right, of the presentation was, it used to be, we're grateful to the United States of America for all of its continuous support. And the end sentence of this presentation for this philanthropist who is American was, we are our gratitude to the people of the United States and their continued support. And I think that says a lot because like Ukrainians know that the people in the US support us tremendously, but Ukrainians also know that the US, like everyone in Ukraine is so incredibly mad and frustrated with the American government. And it's understandable. When that article came out that the US told Ukraine not to strike Russia's facilities, oil facilities, it's like everybody in Ukraine was like, you know, you have no right to tell us what to do, especially with the weapons that we produce at this point, because like we have no other choice. If we had all the weapons we need, we wouldn't have to do that to stop Russia from making money to continue its war. And also Ukraine has all the right to strike oil facilities because that's what brings Russia the most money to fund this war. And yeah, it's just like a very depressing thought, right? Because like I've lived in the US for 13 years. I still half live in the US technically. Well, like kinda. And for me, it's just so sad because I used to be so proud of the support that the US was giving Ukraine. And it felt so fulfilling because it's like both of my homes kind of. And it felt, you know, it felt very good. And recently, every new story I hear about the US and aid to Ukraine and the shit that the politicians are doing and pulling, I want to rip the hair off of my head because it's just so upsetting and so disheartening. And that's kind of how Ukrainians have been feeling, you know. Thank you, radio. So good to see you. So yeah, it's like, you know, what it feels like is that in the most important moment, in the most necessary moment, this is the type of moment where Ukraine needs support the most. We are being kind of thrown to the wolves and left to our own devices. Hi, Nick. Good to see you. Oh my gosh. Wait 1 sec. And it's just like, it's upsetting. It's upsetting, you know? It's really, really upsetting. I saw somewhere that the US never told Ukraine not to strike Russian oil. So I saw that too until Zelensky today actually said that the US government, the White House and the US were upset about Ukraine striking the oil facilities. Zelensky said that in an interview. He was asked point blank because a lot of news outlets ran that story, and he said, yeah, they were upset, but I'm not going to listen to any American at the moment. I'm not going to listen to any American telling me what to do with our own weapons. And this is something we have to do, and we're going to continue doing it because we have no other choice and we need to survive. And that was his answer. And that was basically what he said, and I really respect that answer, basically, because as Grumpy said, the interview is with the Washington Post. So yeah, and I'm so frustrated and irritated by our government. Hi, Don. Heroyam Slava. Not supporting Ukraine because of Donald Trump manipulating the House Republicans. Yeah, I mean, it's not just Donald Trump, right? It's just like the House Republicans, a lot of them don't even need to be manipulated because it's just like the Putin caucus and the MAGA caucus. Thank you again, Bombi. It's less expensive for the US to be involved financially now than have war in our territory. Yeah, that's yes. So ridiculous not to support. Yeah, it is, but that's not how politicians think. Politicians think it's thank you, radio. Politicians think about elections and prices of gas in the election year. That was Zelensky's answer. Yeah, it was. Zelensky's answer was basically like, nobody can tell us what to do with our own weapons and what to strike and what not to strike. We have all of the right. We have, like, it's not a war crime. We're not committing war crimes. We're not striking civilian facilities. So we have all the freaking reason and all the right to do that. And we do. The head of the SBU, Vasyl Maluk, responded to the Russians by emphasizing that Russia's words hold little value unless they announce their defeat in the war and the withdrawal of their occupying forces from Ukrainian territory. Maluk countered Russia's attempts to invoke international law by highlighting the irony of their stance, pointing out that Putin himself is wanted internationally, particularly by the Hague Tribunal for the abduction of Ukrainian children. In light of the anniversary of Bucha's liberation and the atrocities committed by the Russians there, any statements from the Russian Foreign Ministry about terrorism are deemed cynical. Maluk affirmed Ukraine's commitment to remembering every fallen Ukrainian and ensuring that the enemy faces just retribution. Ultimately, Maluk stressed that the only statement of significance from Russia would be one announcing their defeat in the conflict and the withdrawal of their forces. The Security Service of Ukraine, in collaboration with other defense and security forces, is dedicated to hastening this outcome. Я не знаю, що ти цього бачила, але мої друзі з Discord робили донацію на твій збір коштів. Oh, that's awesome! Дуже дякую! Це круто! I didn't know. I didn't hear this part. Oh, hi, Mr. G. Good to see you. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo stated that Russian and Belarusian athletes will not be welcomed in Paris, while expressing strong support for Ukrainian athletes and the entire Ukrainian people. She assured Ukrainian athletes that Paris will welcome them as heroes during the Summer Olympic, making them feel at home. Also, just so you know, France is investing. So this is something that Grumpy told me today. We were talking about it. France is going to completely revamp their military. And France is going to completely revamp their military, and they're going to give all of their older equipment. That doesn't mean like bad old equipment. That means like older equipment en masse to Ukraine. And the interesting part is that they're planning on completing their revamping of their military by 2025. And Ukraine is going to be getting quite a few like armed personnel carriers. Ukraine is going to be getting quite a few weapons. France is really stepping it up. I'm actually, I've said like before, because Macron has flip-flopped back and forth quite a few times, but like not quite like this. This is a huge commitment, a huge dedication, and a very, very big step, an important one. a fantastic one and a really, really strong signal of where France stands. And it's quite crazy because France is usually one of the allies that does the most questionable things. But recently, it's since Macron has woken up that one morning and decided that he's Churchill now, has been doing a lot of really, really fantastic stuff. So here Grumpy is saying 1,800 APCs, 200 Leclercs, 30 to 40 Mirage 2005s. That's amazing. That is a really, really good amount of equipment. France is standing in business today. Yes, it is. What had just fallen off of my roof? Geez, I just heard like the most ridiculous sound, not like missile attack sound or anything like that, but just like a very strange kind of thundery sound, like a thud of sorts. And yeah, and it was a strange sound. Sorry. Speaker of the House of Representatives of the U.S. Congress, Mike Johnson, anticipates that the aid package for Ukraine will introduce important innovations, possibly including loan assistance. He highlighted the REPO for Ukrainians, law enabling the president to seize Russian sovereign assets frozen in the U.S. and allocate them to Ukraine. Johnson described the potential use of seized assets from Russian oligarchs to empower Ukrainians in their fight against Russia as pure poetry. Yeah, Mike Johnson, here's the thing. Pure poetry would have been if you had put this fucking bill on the table when you were supposed to, like months and months ago, so we would not be experiencing losses and so many unnecessary deaths. And, losing territory. Not a lot, but still. Not because we can't hold our ground, but because we don't have any weapons. And the reason why we don't have any weapons is literally Mike Johnson and his caucus. So yeah, saying poetic justice is not something that should be said. Johnson and his mixed messages, it's honestly bonkers. His messages are not mixed. His message is very, very, very straightforward. He is very much in the Putin caucus. Hi, Martin. He is very much supportive of Russia. He's very much ruled and dictated and regulated by Trump, hence by Putin. And he's very much doing everything to delay the aid to Ukraine to help Russia advance. That's literally what he's doing. This one is interesting. So you might have heard about this, but this is wild. It's wild, and far-right Republican crazy conspiracy theorists are literally like, this is not true. Oh my God, this is bonkers. That's not true. Investigative journalists have unveiled new evidence suggesting that over 100 American officials have developed mysterious and severe health issues, possibly linked to the Havana syndrome, which may have been orchestrated by the Russian GRU. It's their, CIA, kind of. The Insider, in collaboration with Der Spiegel and CBS, reported on this development. According to the journalists, Unit 29155 of the GRU allegedly conducted experiments involving special weapons. It's claimed that until leaders were recognized for their work on non-lethal acoustic weapons, it's claimed that unit leaders were recognized for their work on non-lethal acoustic weapons, which emit sound and radio frequencies intended to affect individuals. And again, I find it very laughable that people are putting doubt into it, because sound is used as a weapon. You might have not known this, but there are frequencies that are used for torture. For instance, there are There used to be a torture method. I'm sure it's still, Ivan, I'm sure it's still available and it's still being used in various circumstances where people will be put into a bathtub, and that bathtub would have like speakers installed into it, and those speakers would well, firstly, they would emit these radio frequencies, but also they would cause like turbulation and vibrations that would enhance them. And people would die bleeding out of their eyes and ears. So to think that there is an auditory weapon that would cause serious health consequences is not that far-fetched, because you can use sound frequencies to fuck with people really badly. You can use sound frequencies to literally kill people. So causing people health issues through sound frequencies is really not like a crazy conspiracy theory. It is something that very much would happen. Glory to the heroes. Hi, Trevor. Also, Grumpy says GRU is military intelligence. Well, yes, but Russia doesn't necessarily have. So the reason why I said CIA is because Russia's FSB and GRU and all of these things, they all work together. And like while they have like their own little names, it's all KGB. It's literally all KGB. And it's kind of like, you know, the only comparable thing that I can sort of like think of is CIA, because it's basically KGB. It's not just military intelligence. Like all of their intelligence services are incredibly interconnected and are basically, they all have these new names of, you know, democratic Russia, but it's all it is it's the KGB. It's all still the KGB. Okay. Victims of the syndrome reported experiencing a range of health problems, including hearing loss, insomnia, memory impairment, balance issues, and difficulty concentrating. The journalist's investigation challenges previous conclusions by American intelligence services, which deemed it highly improbable that foreign entities were responsible for the illnesses. The CIA had previously attributed most cases to stress, undiagnosed medical conditions, or environmental factors. The findings of this new study suggest either incompetence or a cover-up within international intelligence agencies, quoted the insider, citing the remarks of an individual identified as the first victim of the syndrome. Like the things that they're describing as like the consequences of this, let's call it torture, right? This experimental auditory weapon are very reasonable and are very believable, because, for instance, so I'm incredibly ADHD, I'm neurodivergent, and one of the things that could genuinely drive me insane is certain sounds. Like I cannot, for the life of me, use the vent in the bathroom. That sound makes me angry. Like it fucks with me so bad. It's like irrational anger, but it's not like I'm angry at you or I like want to, you know, like go like mess things up. No, it's just like I can't function. Like I can't function. It drives me crazy. It actually just like annoys me so much I cannot deal with it. That's just one example of sounds that genuinely make me incredibly, incredibly uncomfortable. If a car is honking for a while, that will put me in a state of like walking coma. I literally I like space out. I can't process information anymore, and it's driving me crazy. There are quite a few sounds like that will drive me absolutely nuts. And I can confidently say that if I were stuck in a bathroom with a vent on for hours or days on end, at some point I'd be driven to insanity, because I cannot describe to a normal functioning person or a neurotypical person what that does to my brain. It is just I don't know how to explain it, but I have difficulties with lots of different sounds, which is why at some point when noise canceling headphones became a thing, oh my God, how I love those things. I love noise canceling headphones. I don't know how I've lived without them before. Yeah, I don't know. And you lived in NYC with that car horn problem. How did you survive there? There are not that many car horns on my street, to be honest. Like not that many people are honking, and usually like it has to be continuous for me to actually feel something. But they're like it's usually like very high frequency noises or very low frequency noises. So for me, it's more like I also hear many more like frequencies than people normally do. I can't study with music on. Like, you know, there are lots of people that will use music to study. I can't do that because I just can't focus. I mean, I have a difficulty focusing to begin with. But, you know, that's anyways, we're like running on a tangent. But like these symptoms that are being described here are very reasonable. And the fact that people are treating this as like a crazy conspiracy theory is so laughable. Because here, one second, here, health problems, including hearing loss, insomnia, memory impairment, balance issues, and difficulty concentrating. Yeah, like if I'm hearing a lot of noises that are very, very disturbing to me for a while, I will have difficulty concentrating. I will have really like my memory the next day, and for a while will be like really bad because it screws with your brain. And if you found a frequency that does that a frequency that could do that long term, yeah, it's very possible. So it's not a crazy conspiracy theory. If you study, you know, anything about psychology and neurodivergencies and like the impact of sound and stuff like that, you will know that this is not just believable. It is like a very, very effective method of torture. Despite the ongoing shelling of Kharkiv, the city remains resilient, said Mayor Terechov. In terms of Kharkiv's resilience, the Russians will not achieve their goal. There is no sense of panic within the city. Russian intimidation tactics are ineffective. The people are united. Kharkiv stands as a bastion of Ukraine, and we are fully aware of this, he emphasized. However, Kharkiv Mayor Ihor Terechov has expressed grave concern over the extensive destruction of critical infrastructure in the city, stating that nearly all critical energy infrastructure has been obliterated, along with significant damage to private infrastructure. In an interview with Liga Net, Terechov emphasized the dire situation, estimating that over $10 billion will be required to undertake the monumental task of rebuilding the city. He highlighted the severe impact on northern Saltivka, where virtually all high-rise buildings have been reduced to rubble, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive reconstruction efforts. Yeah, Kharkiv was being wiped out off the face of the earth in the beginning of the invasion. Then, you know, it was frequently shelled. But then, you know, it became way less like nonstop than it was in the beginning of the invasion. And now it's gotten back to just being constantly shelled at all times. Russia reportedly plans to construct 25 new colonies and detention centers in the occupied territory of Ukraine over the next 2 years, according to Olga Romanova, the head of the Sitting Rus Foundation. Romanova alleges that many employees of the Federal Penitentiary Service of the Russian Federation are seeking employment in these new facilities to avoid frontline duty. She claims that these employees are involved in the torture of Ukrainian partisans and prisoners of war in the occupied territories. Arkady Gostyev, the director of the FSIN, stated that out of 1,600 former employees who joined the fight in Ukraine, 157 have died. Romanova asserts that FSIN employees are exploiting their positions for personal gain and are now being sent to the front line to command prisoners. She describes a situation where half of the FSIN employees are engaged in building prisons, while the other half is sent to the front line, creating a cycle of exploitation and manipulation within the system. Oh, hi, Archer. Yeah. Russia is a wonderful, wonderful place. Wonderful place. The head of the GUR, main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Kyrylo Budanov, stated that Russia has yet to provide any new information regarding the downing of the Il-76 plane allegedly carrying Ukrainian prisoners of war. Budanov emphasized the need for clarity on the identities of those aboard the plane, the circumstances of the incident, and the evidence to support Russia's claims. He pointed out that Russia's failure to allow independent investigations or provide tangible evidence raises doubts about their narrative. So you might remember this narrative. It was when, Ukraine took down a plane because, it was heading towards, it was said that Ukraine took down a plane because it was heading towards Ukraine. We don't really know the circumstances of what happened. The plane was downed. Russia, normally when they do prisoner exchanges, they will tell Ukraine that that plane is carrying prisoners of war. And that's what they're supposed to do. They didn't do that. And then it was this very muddy situation where Russia was claiming that there were Ukrainian prisoners of war aboard this plane and Ukraine killed them. But the only people that were found in the rubble of the airplane were 3 people or 5 people or something. And that was the amount of the crew that was supposed to be on board. And that plane was carrying Russian explosives, most likely, because there's lots of evidence from intercepted phone calls on the ground of rescue or first responders sort of asking what kind of teams they need on the scene. And all of those teams were teams that know how to deal with explosives. Russian disinformation campaigns aimed at undermining support for Ukraine in Europe have grown significantly in scope, skill, and stealth, reports the Financial Times. Rolf Beste, head of the German Federal Foreign Office Culture and Communications Department, informed reporters that the Russian Federation is now combining greater sophistication and believability in its messages with automation to make information attacks more effective and harder to combat. Beste notes that there is probably a lot going on that we don't even see. More and more conversations are taking place in private Telegram and WhatsApp channels. It is very difficult to understand what is happening there, the officials say. He added that in Germany, for example, the Russians target sensitive issues concerning the local population, such as the expansion of aid to Ukraine, the cessation of Russian gas supplies, doubts about further support from the United States within NATO, economic growth, etc., an attempt to spread manipulative narratives on these topics. This year, Beste's department uncovered one of the largest attempts to manipulate German public opinion on the X social network, Twitter. It'll never be X. A network of over 50,000 fake accounts posting up to 200,000 posts a day sought to convince Germans that government aid to Ukraine undermined German prosperity and posed a threat of nuclear war. The network attempted to launder such statements by presenting them as if they had been published by Der Spiegel and Süddeutsche Zeitung. Last week, the Czech government, in collaboration with other European states, exposed a network linked to oligarch Viktor Medvedchuk. Remember that guy who was exchanged by Russia for over 100 Azov servicemen, prisoners of war, and 5 commanders? That guy, he's Putin's kid's godfather, or maybe Putin is his kid's godfather. Yeah, anyways, he's a treasoner. Last week, the Czech government, in collaboration with other European states, exposed a network linked to oligarch Viktor Medvedchuk, which also disseminated pro-Russian and anti-Ukrainian narratives in Europe. Aw, surprise! Not really. Oh my God. This one is interesting. So Russia was trying to launch an offensive on Ukraine with tanks, and it failed miserably. That's what our thumbnail today is about. The Russian army conducted what Forbes describes as perhaps one of the largest tank offensives of the entire war on Saturday. And then it went womp, 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 womp. It culminated in one of the largest tank battles of Russia's 25-month war in Ukraine. When the smoke cleared, the Russians had abandoned a third of their tanks on the road west of the ruins of Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine, the article states. The ability of Ukrainians to repel such large and heavily armed Russian forces indicates a notable trend, noted by journalists. Despite Ukrainian... Oh. Hi, Marino. Despite shortages of key ammunition, Ukrainian brigades have demonstrated the capability to mount a fierce defense, often utilizing mines, artillery, anti-tank missiles, and explosive drones from a first-person perspective. So what ended up happening there, actually, is that direction was out of ammo for a very, very long time. So Russia wanted to launch a large offensive and wipe out the Ukrainian military in that direction. A day before, ammunition was delivered to the soldiers in that direction, and Russia didn't know. So what ended up happening is Russian tanks were on their way to start the offensive, and Ukraine just obliterated them. I'm going to show you the picture of the Russian tanks. So those like black dots that you see there are tanks. Yes. Rheinmetall CEO Armin Paperker, in an interview with the Financial Times, emphasized the need for Europe to establish defense technology champions through closer cooperation among countries, each specializing in different types of military technologies. Paperker pointed out that the United States is unlikely to provide military aid to Europe in the event of a military threat, as demonstrated by its recent blocking of military aid to Ukraine. He highlighted that the US is now more focused on the Asia-Pacific region and may not prioritize Europe's defense needs. He warned that if a full-scale armed conflict occurs in Europe, the US would likely shift its focus to Asia, leaving Europe without significant support. Paperker stressed that regardless of who occupies the White House, pressure on Germany to bolster its military capabilities will persist, urging Europe to take proactive measures to strengthen its defense sector. So the interesting thing is that, well, this guy is CEO of Rheinmetall, so it is in his interest for people to think that, in order to, for Rheinmetall to be responsible for much more production, and for, European countries to be ordering more weapons from Europe, bringing them business and making them richer, obviously. But also, he's not necessarily wrong, and it's kind of like two things can be true at the same time. He can be right, and he can also be, trying to get defense contracts. Wow, perfect Rheinmetall pronunciation. Ich spreche Deutsch ein bisschen. Can we trust the US? No, we can't. That's the thing. And I think that the US has shown it tremendously in the past, in the past couple of months, 6 months. The US has really shown itself as, I don't even know. For me, it's very personally upsetting and disturbing, because the US is also my home, and I'm really, it's really difficult for me to talk about it, because it actually drives me crazy, and I'm really upset about what the US is doing. or what the US is not doing rather. So yeah, I don't want to say anything bad, but I also can't not say anything bad. It's only Republicans. I know. I mean, listen, I'm very familiar with the US politics, but it's not necessarily only Republicans. It's also because, the Democrats are not making it a priority for them to actually understand the scope of what this can lead to. And also, there is a lot of it. Like, obviously, the Republicans are at the core of being awful. And of course, I'm not trying to say that the Democrats somehow are worse. No, but at the same time, the Democrats are not doing enough, to be honest. And I've defended the Democrats for a very, very long time, but also right now I'm just very frustrated. And I think that they're just the Republicans are trying to screw it up as much as they can. And the Democrats are not taking it seriously enough to literally are not taking it seriously enough. And I know it's MAGA Republicans. I'm not talking about all Republicans, but unfortunately most of the Republicans in power are MAGA. So it's it doesn't really matter, we're not talking about the voting populace here. We're talking about the people in the government, and most of the Republicans in the government, especially those with the say, are MAGA. So that's why we generalize to Republicans. Also, for those of you who just joined and might be confused as to what the fuck is happening in my head, I'm going to quickly summarize this story again because I do find it to be very funny. A friend of mine invited me to a premiere of his new documentary. I had about 30 minutes to get ready. And I figured I would do something with my hair so I would look presentable, because it is a pre-premiere screening, because the premiere is on the 4th. And I was like, there's definitely going to be, a lot going on. So I tried to do my hair. I have one of those shark, blow dryer things. Okay. That is basically a blow dryer and a curling iron and everything. And as I was blow drying my hair, or as I was curling it, my dog jumped, kind of put her paws on me, from the back. And I was not expecting that. So I got scared and I flinched and I dropped my blow dryer, and it happened to land in the nearby bucket of water that I had just prepared to mop my floor with. So the blow dryer is now gone. I don't have a blow dryer anymore. I don't know how I survived because it was obviously plugged in. And and so I had these two little horn things because the bottom of my hair was not curled at all. And the bottom of my hair was curled. And the top of my hair, all of the hair that I just took out, was not curled because my hair dryer had just left us for the better world, or for the different world, for a different world. It's no longer with us when that happened. So, and I had 15 minutes to leave, so I had to improvise. Girl with the dogs. So yeah, I didn't blow up my blow dryer. My blow dryer, unfortunately, is no longer with us, and I need to figure out what to temporarily do, because it's gonna get cold again, and my blow dryer drowned. Let's say drowned. Drowned is a good word. But yeah, I love you, Cindy. Thank you so much for doing that. You are adorable. I do love Cindy very much, but I really appreciate the compliments on the hair. See, I'm not self-conscious about the hair. It's fine. I don't, the point is that I don't have anything to dry it with. It's it's okay. I mean, my hair right now is a mess because, these curls are coming from my hair being up in two tiny little buns. But yeah. Yeah, so that was the thing. I don't know how I did not get electrocuted because, well, I mean, when it did fall in the water, it was plugged in and I wasn't holding it because like I dropped it, right? But I did plug it out immediately, which was probably a dumb reaction. But I mean, I don't know. Listen, I did not get electrocuted, so it's cool. Okay, according to the Independent, you didn't earth it. Yeah. According to the Independent, Russia has the capacity to produce a greater number of FAB series cruise bombs compared to Ukraine, thereby replenishing its own stockpile of anti-aircraft munitions. The article highlights the significant damage caused by Moscow's recently modified FAB 1500s, while Ukraine also utilizes attack munition systems, JDAM. There is a notable disparity in the quantity of American weapons available. John Foreman, a former British defense attaché in Moscow, pointed out that while FAB bombs may be less effective than JDAM, they're considerably more cost-effective. Moreover, FABs have a launch range of approximately 40 kilometers, requiring Ukraine to rely on interceptor missiles with longer ranges, which are in shorter supply. This one is also very interesting. Iran warned Russia about the security threat from ISIS before the terrorist attack in Crocus, according to Reuters. Tehran shared information with Moscow a few days before the attack about a possible major terrorist operation in Russia. The terrorists were instructed to prepare for a significant operation in Russia. One of the arrested terrorists in Iran stated that some members of the group had already left for Russia. The source of the newspaper reported this. Oh, привіт! Привіт. Hi, Sally. Good to see you. Seriously, you're at war with Russia and worried about your hair. What's it like here with daily something? I guess character limit was reached. Honey, I'm happy to figure out a way to fundraise for a one-way ticket for you into a country that's at war with Russia. Please live in a war zone for a while, and then we'll talk about what I should and should not be worried about, okay? Because as far as I'm concerned, since you have never been to a war zone, never lived in a war zone, and legitimately are probably sitting in your mom's couch right now in her basement, because that's likely the only place you can afford to rent because she takes a symbolic amount of money from you. Maybe, STFU and not tell a person who does live in these circumstances what they should be worried about. Okay? Thanks. Anyways, here's the thing. Last thing I care about is whether you think my worries are legitimate or not. That's cool. F-16s is the only way to stop FAB bombs. Oy. Another reason to take the restrictions from UAE use of weapons. Yeah, I agree with Archer there. Okay, Tehran shared information with Moscow a few days before the attack about a possible major terrorist operation in Russia. The terrorists were instructed to prepare for a significant operation in Russia. One of the arrested terrorists in Iran stated that some members of the group had already left for Russia. The source of the newspaper reported this. Peskov told Reuters that he does not know anything about it. Russia was warned by Iran. Russia was warned by the US. Russia was warned by many people. So here's the thing. You know how I was saying that I do believe that it's the Russian government that's responsible for this? The Russian government allowed it. So I no longer think that the Russian government is, I don't think it was the same thing as the apartment bombings to justify the war in Chechnya. I don't think it was an inside job. I do think that they used this terrorist attack and they made sure that it would happen, and they made sure that as many casualties, that it would result in as many casualties as it could in order for them to justify mobilization, because they wanted to blame that on Ukraine. Yeah. Russia is anticipated to reduce marine diesel exports to a 5-month low in April due to strikes by Ukrainian drones on Russian refineries, reports Bloomberg. Fuel loading in the 3 largest Russian ports of the Black Sea and Baltic Seas is expected to decrease to approximately 2.29 million tons per day this month. This marks a 21% decrease compared to daily exports from these ports in March. Very true. Hi, Sally. Moscovia trying to destroy morale and split the population. Yeah. Oh my gosh. They're doing that to Ukraine. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, right? Like, Russia knows that they can't take down our government, but they know we can. And that's what they're trying to make us do. Hi, Linotello. Good to see you. Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur clarified that NATO soldiers will not engage in combat in Ukraine, but may conduct training missions. He highlighted that every NATO member country currently has military personnel in Ukraine, including military attachés and individuals on irregular assignments. Pevkur emphasized that recent statements by French President Emmanuel Macron regarding potential troop deployment primarily concern training activities. He noted that Ukrainian soldiers are already being trained in countries like Great Britain, Estonia, and Poland. The minister suggested exploring the possibility of conducting training directly in Ukraine to expedite the learning process, as border crossings entail time constraints. However, he reiterated that European soldiers will not be involved in frontline combat in Ukraine. According to IDSAs, Greece intends to provide Ukraine with a significant quantity of ammunition. The contract is valued at approximately 150 million euros, and the ammunition will be transferred through the Czech Republic. Can someone please take out the troll? This one is just pure, this one is just like a pure, I don't even know, like laughing stock type of thing, but it is part of the news. Russia is contemplating removing the Taliban from the list of terrorist organizations. The Russian Foreign Ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and other pertinent departments, is actively addressing this matter. However, the ultimate decision rests with the country's highest political leadership. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, it's entertaining because Russia removing Taliban from the list of terrorist organizations is just like, I mean, even if they don't remove it, they're buddies. It's like, so funny. But yes, Grumpy is right. Taliban and IS are at war with each other, and Russia. But here's the thing: Russia had previously, so ISIS-K is the terrorist organization that took the responsibility for the terrorist attack in Moscow, and. I mean, it makes sense because if the Taliban is at war with ISIS, right, or IS rather, then it does make sense. But at the same time, Russia has been having like warm fuzzies for the Taliban since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. They've met many times. Like, it's not like that's why. Like, Russia does not consider the Taliban a terrorist organization. They're buddies. Yeah. I think that's it for today. We are going to do like a longer stream tomorrow, and I'll try to do it earlier because there is a lot of information that I still need to. Hi, Tom. Thank you. And I still need to like put it all together because, you know, I'm basically trying to jam everything that we've missed in the 4 days that I was home with family and like absolutely unable to do streams. Because I did one with Rick. I was a guest on Rick's stream, but I couldn't do my own streams because honestly, like I was just spent and I was spending so much time with family and I was only supposed to be in Lviv for like 2.5 days. It turned out to be 3.5 days, but everyone from my family wanted to see me, which is reasonable. I also wanted to see everyone, but it was just like a couple of my friends were in town and my friends were there, my like friends that are from Lviv that are not in town, but that live there wanted to see me. And it was just like a constant roller coaster of seeing people and seeing people and seeing people and seeing people. And yeah. Oh, hi, Ozzy. So good to see you. And thank you, Kellen. I'm going to go see if not blow drying, but drying out my blow dryer completely is going to bring it back to life because I need to wash my freaking hair tomorrow morning. And it's supposed to be cold tomorrow, like freezing again. It's supposed to be like really bad weather for the next like week or so, or like maybe 5 days or something like that. And I am just like, why pardon my French, why does this shit always happen to me in like the worst possible timing ever? I will vote Biden because the alternative is much worse. Because the alternative is much worse. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. That's what I would do as well. It's like, I'm not saying these things, you know, because I want to discourage people from voting for Biden. Yeah, I'll be very careful. I'm saying this because it's just disappointing, but obviously, like, you know, it's the thing is like we're choosing between a kind of useless person and a straight up evil person. The choice is great. Oi, alrighty, you guys. I'm gonna go, you know, try to take a shower and maybe sleep earlier tonight because I did spend the night on the train and I didn't sleep well. It was really hot on the train too. So yeah, you know. Dementia versus demented. Yeah, that's actually freaking hilarious. Although, like, I do not believe Biden has dementia. I think it's like just Trump. It's hi Cav. It's Trump's way of just discrediting him, right? And it's like it's a bad joke, but but dementia versus demented is freaking hilarious. I think it's Kellen. That was phenomenal. I applaud. I applaud your humor. I need a dryer to blow dry the dryer. Yes, pretty much. Oh my gosh. Okay. I also need to like go give my head a really good scratch because while I was wearing these things, like, you know, sometimes when you wear like a very high ponytail, hi Gord. Sometimes when you wear a very high ponytail, like your hair, like your head hurt, like your hair hurts. That's what I'm experiencing right now. And I really want to like just go and like, you know. Okay. Alrighty. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye. Wait, what did I do? Oh, okay, this was closed. Cheerio. No, I seldom wear a ponytail. Well, Grumpy, I was not talking to you, okay? Okay, Grumpy? Okay, bye.